show you how to build a Makiwara. I looked on the internet for plans myself and couldn't find much. I did find one gentleman had a video on YouTube showing how to make it. I took some of his ideas and incorporated it into my design and tried to stiffen it up a little bit. Basically, it took me about a day's worth of labor and about $110 in supplies from my local Lowe's. The basic piece I used is a 2 foot by 4 foot base. It's 3/4 inch oak plywood. I have 2 sheets of that. As you can see, I have a gap in between. That's to accommodate the base, or the post support you'll see in a minute. And it's separated by just scraps of oak and poplar, just some hardwood pieces I had laying around. The way I did that was laid them out and just various places, made sure I had the edges supported. You can see where my screws are. I have edges here, here, and then importantly right along the edge of this, where the post ends up being. And I have another support across this way. I laid those on the bottom piece and put a couple of screws in just to hold it in place. You always got to choose your screws carefully to make sure they don't come through the bottom side, because you don't want to mark up your floors. So if we're going through 2 3/4 inch pieces, I used 1 1/4 inch screws, and for going all the way through, once I got the spacers tacked down, put this on top, and then I used 2 inch wood screws to go all the way through and into the third piece. Used number 8 screws for all those. That's the basic support or base, excuse me. And here's the support post. The design of this is 2 pieces of solid oak. This is 8 inches wide and 2 feet long. One piece I left, and the other piece I cut. I think this is about 14 inches. You could cut them evenly if you wanted. I chose to make the back support a little higher. Well, I guess you couldn't, because I did choose that to make it so it accommodate these brackets. I believe these are 11 by 13 roughly, and I put the taller piece here. After I did this, I put 2 of these brackets on. A friend of mine got me thinking that maybe that wasn't enough, so I decided to put a 3rd bracket in, and these brackets are fairly cheap. These are about $1.50 a piece. This one costs $10. A lot thicker steel, plus it has a gusset cross member welded in. So that's really the primary support. I use number 12 3/4 inch wood or 1 inch wood screws to hold the big one in, and number 10 I think 3/4 inch, maybe 1 inch, I'm not sure, I don't recall. The screw does actually come through just a little bit on some of these to hold the other brackets in. To assemble it and to give it added strength, I laid it on its side and used these steel T-braces here. I pre-drilled every hole that I put a screw in. I used pilot holes. Less likely to split your wood, makes putting the screws in a whole lot easier. Put the T-brace on, get it nice and square, and do that both sides. These are screws that came with this 3 inch by 3 inch steel brace. That way this is good and square, and you can put your brackets in and push them up against both sides firmly, so that you know you've got it flush, or you've got a good contact on both sides. Then to put this piece on, ideally it would have been to put another T-bracket here, but I couldn't fit it in, so I used an angle bracket. These are about 2.5 inch legs on these pieces. That holds that on, and then some flat straps to put the two together. Interestingly enough, the distance between the boards is kind of dictated by this strap bearing up against this strap. Just so happens I wanted enough of a gap to hold a 3/4 inch board for the post, plus a little bit extra, because I'm going to shim it in place to hold it there. And you'll see it worked out pretty well. The other thing you have to compromise on a little bit is if you make this cutout here such that the whole thing slides all the way in to where this end is flush with the end of the platform, then your vertical post is going to be down here somewhere, and you've lost some area to stand and move. So I compromised and made sure that at least it goes in far enough to where this gusset support on the middle bracket, where it comes in here, it's supported on the end of this board, or the platform. Then the rest of this will hang off. Of course, that means this board will tend to flex just a little bit, and that's where this other scrap comes in at. And I just set it on the floor underneath this piece to give it some extra support so it doesn't want to flex quite so much. As far as this being held in place once it's slid in, just so happens some of these screws did come through just a little bit, and they tend to dig into this bottom piece of wood here. Plus, when you get this all sandwiched together and good and tight, it's actually a pretty tight fit anyways, good friction fit. So, at least for now, I haven't had to come up with any kind of method to lock it in place. If I do end up having to do that, I'll probably come up with a brace that goes across the back of these brackets, bears up against this vertical leg, and somehow ties into the base here, maybe with just a quick release pin or something like that, something you can pull off quickly. You can take the thing apart for mobility. So then, get that in there. For the post, I used 1 inch by 6 inch cedar and trimmed it down to accommodate my Charado pad. That fits in there. It is a little bit narrower than the base, so I just took a few pieces of scrap cedar from what I cut off. I bought an 8-foot post and fit in nicely beside it. Measured them to the exact dimensions so that it keeps the post from going side to side. That just a scrap of wood goes under there. These shims keep the post solidly in place. These are just composite shims. They come in a little pack for about $2 or $3. Keeps it going anywhere. And I put these in the front. You don't have to, but the post wants to tip over in the slot, so that just keeps it from moving around on you. Doesn't really hurt anything. Just a little extra security. So then you have a good punching post for about $100. The real test will be how long it lasts, but looks like it's going to last for a while. Thanks.